Hi, I'm Jeff Gentry with Kiwi Blog, Communication Across the Ocean. This is the final video installment of my blog here during early 2013. I didn't say spring semester 2013 because I'm in New Zealand and it's summer actually, and soon to be fall. Linda Jean Kenix was with us on an earlier installment talking about New Zealand television, and today we're talking about New Zealand higher education. So my departmental and university colleagues might be most interested in this one, but maybe some students will be interested in a few of the bits of information that we gleaned today too. So Dr. Kenix, there are lots of things we can talk about, the differences between New Zealand higher ed and American higher ed. And of course, you earned your degrees from American institutions, and now you teach here in New Zealand. So there are lots of things we can cover, but first question is, most college degrees here are 3 years rather than 4 years. Better, worse, different?
I will say worse. I would say worse. I'd say worse because it's not just that it's 3 years. It's, you know, we have academic scholars coming in from all around the world. We just had a fellow here from Sweden and talking to him about their academic institutions and how they operate. They make American institutions look short and pithy in terms of content. And I would say that's reduced even further here because, as you know, in America, tend to have roughly 5 classes a semester for a 15-week semester. Here, there's about 3 classes for a 12-week semester, and on average. And the time in classes is much less than in America as well. It's about an hour less per class per week. No, sorry, it's even less than that. Anyway, it's a couple hours per week. Now, all that translates to less time to get students thinking. In arts, we like to think critically and analyzing and engaging content. So, I mean, here, to graduate with a comms degree, you need 2 300-level courses, 300 being the top, and that's it. And you've graduated with a comms degree. Now, I'd love to think that I have such strong powers of persuasion that I can teach, you know, as much content as I did in the United States, because I taught there for four years at the University of Minnesota. As much content there, and you know, be able to distill that down into the time frames that we're dealing with here. But it's simply impossible. And at the end of it all, a student comes out with less skills in terms of being able to merge both professional-esque, I don't want to say completely professional, but professional skills such as software training and things like that, and critical analytical skills. So coming from there to here, I've seen there's actually, I think, really interesting differences in how the 2 universities approach that question. So shorthand answer would be worse.
Right. And that's okay. I mean, there are going to be things that we like better and that we don't like as well.
And there's lots of things I do like better. But overall, in terms of the time span, I don't think it's enough time.
Right. So tell me an advantage of New Zealand higher ed.
Right. An advantage here, one of what I was just saying about critical thinking, you know, so I was at Minnesota, and there we did a lot of professional training. I taught visual communication there, so I taught lots of Final Cut Pro and Dreamweaver and Quark at the time, but, you know, all that stuff, right? So how to do it, and there was lots of emphasis on that. And you come out with a portfolio and show the world, and the thing is, I would look at what they were showing, and it was junk. It's just junk because there was so much emphasis on that, and that's a reflection of the culture within which it operates. You know, that you know you need to come out and show a portfolio, and there's not as much care and attention put towards analytical skills. And another byproduct of that is their writing tended to be pretty, I don't say shocking, but you know, it wasn't very strong, and not a lot of cogent thinking there. Now here, I see a lot of the reverse. Really strong writers, some interesting thinkers in terms of some of their analytical skills that they've, you know, kind of worked through as they go, but they have no professional skills. They don't know how to turn that into a portfolio, for example. Right. So that counterbalance. But yeah, the emphasis here on critical thinking within the arts is strong, and so I do see that in our students in a way that I didn't see in the States. So that's a good thing
that's
in terms of its focus. Yeah.
Because at RSU, our program, we try to put 1 foot in the liberal arts and 1 foot into production for our students, so that they have good technical skills, but they can also tell a story and understand the world around them and things like that. So it sounds to me like you would maybe like that idea, where they're learning set skills but also learning to think critically.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the goal, you know? I mean, that is the goal. And we're trying here. I mean, but there are structural things here as well that are very different. I mean, as you know, the liberal arts education in the United States, I didn't pick my major until my third year, you know? But you're taking astronomy and biology and gymnastics and, all sorts of random stuff. And then, you kind of really kind of hone in and figure out what you do. Here, another, I would say, drawback to the system here is there's no strong requirement, I mean, no requirement full stop, for an engineer, for example, to take an arts course. And that is frightening, to me, in a broader scale, thinking of, let's say engineers or anybody who hasn't been exposed to different ways of thinking or different ways of approaching a question. I want my students to take stats classes and engineering classes and math classes, and I tell them to, but they don't have a lot of time in their very limited curricular offerings to do so. And they don't have any requirement to do so. Yeah.
Well, I'm loving these arguments, just like my colleague at another Oklahoma school who teaches biology, and he does all essay exams there. And so it's nice to have that balance. So I'm glad you're endorsing that. The semester seems shorter here too, am I right? Just 12 weeks?
12 weeks, yeah.
And then a nice 2-week mid-semester break. Which is
actually
kind of fun.
Here it's even 3 weeks.
Oh, is it 3 weeks? Okay,
so
big spring break, big fall break, and that's kind of interesting. But still, that leads to less contact hours with students, right? Okay. The other thing that I found unusual is the marking scale. Okay. Looking at syllabi. Yeah. Am I right? 79.5% on a test is an A-.
Yeah. Now that struck me too when I got here. I thought, oh my gosh, wow, the scale is so different. I will say this. The marking that I've seen all around, and there's a lot more external checks on our marking here than exists in the United States. We all look at each other's to some extent, but far, far more. When I was at University of Minnesota, nobody ever checked me, nobody, and there are kind of a lot of external checks embedded into the system. So, but an A here is an A. In America is an A. Okay. Well, I can only speak for America. Right. A B is the same. The conceptual ideas of what a B and an A and a C.
It's just the numbers mean different things.
The numbers mean different things. But where that does come into play is when you have let's say you have a multi-choice examiners. That scale still applies. So you can get half wrong and get a C. Yeah. And that, to me, is
right, yeah, 49.5% is the bottom of a C. Yeah. So that would make me want to do all essay tests, just to make sure students understand the concepts.
Yeah, that being said, I mean, I like to balance both out because I think that here there is such an emphasis on written exams. It's the British model, that they've adapted here. So, but, where I see gaps here is that there's not as much, knowing of the exact who, what, where, get the terminology and being able to. So I do ask some quiz questions throughout, but they can get half wrong and they get a C. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned checks. There are more checks here. Is it the dean is looking at people's grading? How does that go?
No, but some of the checks are, I mean, if the average, if let's say, I don't know, can't think of it, make it up, 70% of my class pass, and everybody else in the arts, it's an 80% pass rate. I would probably get, just a note saying, is there a reason why perhaps the content is some, that kind of thing. At the honors level and at the master's and PhD level, we do have external examiners who look at what we've marked and whether they...
Interesting. And so honors means fourth year. Yep. Students can choose to have a 4-year degree, and that's called an honors degree. Rather than their grade point average, it's the fourth year that determines that, right?
Yes, which a lot
Although you have to do well enough to get into that fourth year, right?
But a lot of people I know look at a BA honors, it'll say, and think, oh wow, the rest of the world thinks, oh look, they were a good student in their BA. It's not that. It's that they did a whole fourth year. And here, the fourth year is much, much more equivalent to graduate study. It is that kind of level of work, looking at journal articles and, the small classrooms, discussion-based. So it's like a grad student kind of equivalent in the United States. Yeah. So it's different than what any fourth-year undergraduate student in the United States would be very different than what they would experience.
Right. And then with just one more year, they can get a master's, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Student learning assessment is big in America. Do you have lots of forms that you do and reporting that goes into the assessment process here, or are you kind of left to teach as you see fit?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I understand your question, but when basically we set the assessment, and there's no one on the front end kind of saying, you know, have you checked for this, that, or the other? But yeah, so not as much.
Yeah, because in America, assessment is huge because it's the primary factor in accreditation of a university. So do you face accreditation visits or that kind of thing?
I do know what you mean. I was just thinking about, at University of Minnesota, we had AEJMC come in and every, no, it's not like that here. So there isn't that kind of. Yeah.
Not a lot of external assessment then. Okay, interesting. And graduate classes here seem very less structured than the United States. How does that work?
Well, there are none.
But somebody can get a PhD in media and communication here at Canterbury.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very much this British model, which took me a long time to sort out. So, but now that I'm here, I understand it. Okay, so in the United States, you have courses as an MA and a PhD student, and then after all of that, you do also then have you know, a course assigned to you to write your dissertation. Here, there are no courses, so once a month at least, a student is expected to kind of show up in your office and you sit and chat with that individual student, you know, for a couple hours about what they're up to and where they should build it and their thesis and how it should grow. It's one-on-one, your MA and your...
And is it just automatically everyone in the department, or do they pick 5? I mean, who are these people who are the faculty that the student works with?
Well, when a student applies here, there's a lot of things that are so fascinating about this, and that you can sense from my tone that I don't necessarily agree with. So a student, when they want to study here, an MA or a PhD student, they need to send us a proposal right on the front end of what they want to do, right? And it's pretty fleshed out, you know, kind of idea. We pass that around, and if there's someone here that thinks, yep, I could work with that student, they say, yes, okay, we can. Then, you know, and so you say, yes, I'll work with Rob. And great. So then Rob then sends in his full transcripts, and we make sure that he's on the up and up, and everything's great, and then you're off and away. So
one person pretty much determines?
One person.
Wow, that's power.
One person. I mean, they have to meet university regulations. They have to have a certain... have reached a certain threshold at their undergraduate and all sorts of other things. But it is really basically fundamentally based on, is this in your research area?
Right,
are you free and available to supervise the student? I mean, it comes from this model, you know, in Britain of, you know, you have images of C.S. Lewis sitting in some ivory tower, sitting and chatting with a student, you know, and whiling away the afternoon. It can work really, really well. The thing I don't like about it, which I'll say, is that I then churn out really a mini-me. you know, this person has been under my tutelage completely and exclusively.
So they're majoring for their PhD in Kenix studies.
Yeah. And that's not what I think we need to be doing here. And when I think of all the courses I took from the rich range of academics, and then all those people also then on top of that were part of my committee structure looking at my PhD, it was a tangibly different experience. Now, the benefits of it, which I have seen, you know, if a student is really engaged in the content, and we've had a few, I mean, outstanding PhD students that have come through here, and I have to say, probably the best that I have seen full stop. They, you know, I mean, you can be with them on their wild ride to kind of guide them through all this academic scholarship, and it can be really rewarding. But, you know, I think for the broader kind of what should PhD education be like, and notwithstanding those few really stellar standouts, I think that the American postgraduate model is stronger.
Right. Good on you, Linda Jean Kenix.
Yes.
Thank you for visiting with us. This has been Kiwi Blog, Communication Across the Ocean. Big thanks to Dr. Kenix and also to Rob Stoll, my producer, and we'll be coming back to America pretty soon. Thanks. I'm Jeff Gentry. Good day.